The steady drip, drip, drip of thick blood ran from the end of a slender rapier whose blade was worn, warped, and jagged from use. The scarlet drops accompanied the steps of the monster who carried the once elegant blade. His hooves clicked sharply on cold grey stone, the blade occasionally twitching and flicking in the air like the instrument of a seizure-struck conductor. There was only one other creature that shared the halls with him. A pathetic, feeble thing that skulked through the wandering, broken tunnels of this labyrinth, and the monster could smell its reeking clothes, wet with sweat and fear, more pungent with each and every step. "You can't run forever, little one. Your honor only bought you time and composure, she." The creature laughed, wheezing like most smokers only manage in the dim hours before death. She was a welcome meal. Somewhere further ahead in the dark, the prey that the monster stalked, almost shaking and shivering. The beast's notched ears flicked like a pest at bulls as they picked out strange words from the gibbering fright that warped the voice of the once well-spoken little princeling. You can't have me! You can't! She said you can't! You'll just hurt more!" The silly thing had been reduced to yelping and yipping like a kicked dog. Adorable once, but now just a stubborn obstacle. A fly who refused to sit still and be swatted. The monster would need to pass for this broken boy someday, so at least listening to the useless begging had the benefit of teaching it how he spoke. Not that the creature ever intended to beg, plead, grovel. That sort of thing was for prey. Your sweet composure was right. But the more that you keep my creation from being complete, the more he'll hurt. He'll kill too. He already has. And you've felt it, little one. A little white lie, but nothing that wouldn't be true soon. Callous, the interesting amalgamation of butchered personalities, was just taking his time before he finally ended a life. You've felt the blood that wasn't on your hands. Heard screams from inside your own head. You aren't going insane, young lord. You're feeling what I puppet your weak little body into doing for my amusement. Somewhere off in the dark, the little boy whimpered, and the sound of hair tearing from the scalp was like tiny tap of skinless, dry fingers on tight drum skins. The gurgling, bubbling laugh of the beast bounced bizarrely from the walls and the stone maze, until it sounded like a dozen of the sadistic creatures must have been roaming the halls in search of the tiny, pathetic little spirit they had to break down. The click of hooves grew rapidly to stomps, and the stomps turned into a clattering hail as the monster ran. A bestial, sexually energized moan rising from the throat of it, followed whimpering that quickly grew to the panicked screeching and babbling of the boy as he scrambled to gain purchase on the stone, like a beaten dog trying to flee a wrathful owner. But he wasn't quick enough. He never was. Not the first time, nor the second, and now he hadn't been able to rest for more than a few fleeting minutes at a time for what felt like years. He'd at first cast off values and hobbies that manifested as animals that fought while he ran, being butchered for minutes that bought the boy precious time. The monster had fed on their ethereal corpses and twisted their essence so that the meat puppet outside could ignore those values, those desires, making religious commitment into a sick delight for desecration. An interest in poetry and dance had become a fixation on becoming a master of elegant weapons like the glaive and rapier and bow, learning to move with a grace that would be the end of so many in years to come. Honor had been consumed and converted to cruelty that kept more than a dozen on the edge of death in a secret chamber where they would await with fear the lank-haired figure who offered them hell with a smile, torment with a laugh. Composure now was gone. and with her restraint lifted, already bothersome servants and nosy peasants had begun to go mysteriously missing, while more screams joined the unheard choir below the bastard's black tower. The boy came into sight through the smoky gloom, and gasping through tears he yanked yet another ring from fingers that once bore 3 each. His earlobes were already ragged and bloody from jewellery that was pulled unceremoniously from the flesh, fingers now raw from gaudy rings that had been pulled off without a care for the swelling their flesh and suffered in the cold. A ring flew back, flung viciously at the monster and burst into an owl. She was tall and proud, but emaciated and tired. Even still, she lashed out fiercely with claws that entirely failed to stop the charging beast that crashed into its spectral green form. A string of snaps plucked from an easily crushed chest, filling the air wetly. For a moment, the spirit who had been forced so violently into this boy's mind years and years ago considered leaving the owl and chasing the boy further to take the whole prize. But the hunter knew it had all the time in the world. The chipped, rusted, saw-toothed blade of the rapier drew a jagged gash across the owl's stomach, and after a few more seconds of wrestling, the frantic kicking, weak flapping, and gasping squawks faded, leaving the monster a stiff, cold snack. Soon, the puppet that twisted the strings of who had once been the body of an effeminate young princeling had an appreciation for cunning and plotting that would make the most paranoid and brilliant of shrewd emperors proud.